Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 162.
Yes, indeed.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems on a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello, surprise,
Boom, etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you, don't ask stupid questions, and don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy do Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related.
That's becoming quite the catchphrase, that, isn't it?
It is.
I like it.
Some of us remember it.
I put it written on my hand.
Like you're at school, writing stuff down on your hand.
That's why it says, it sounds like I'm reading it, because I am. Something Doctor Who related.
There you go.
Got it.
Too many catchphrases.
I know.
Coming at you from somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
I still like that one.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's my one. For anyone who doesn't know, that's my Geeks Handbag one that I sometimes remember to say at the beginning of a video.
Geeks Handbag.
Only sometimes, though. I used to do it every week, and I sort of forgot it.
Yeah, it's. I used to like it when you brought that in, because you did this cool little wave of the hand, like it was a nice little welcome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's like welcome to the video. It's going to be amazing because of
I've just got big-headed now. Now I'm just like, hi.
Sometimes
hi,
you like it.
Casual. You all right? Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I knew you'd be back. And the title of the video.
Granted.
The title of the video says it all. So I don't need to say why you know.
Yeah, I know.
We're just here doing it. So I hope you guys have had a good week. We've had some big news regarding Series 11 that dropped a few days ago.
Yeah, it dropped. And do you know what I love about it? Is it dropped without any announcement, that it wasn't like going to be like midnight announcement or anything. Oh, it just appeared out of nowhere. So it's good, wasn't it? I like it when they do that. Bit of spontaneity.
Aren't they the best ones?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, because you don't sit there thinking, another hour to go before I can go to bed, and it'll be rubbish, and
I shouldn't
wait up.
Yeah.
I know. So this was good.
It's like 2 minutes past midnight, and then a tweet comes out on the official Doctor Who Twitter account. Stephen Moffat's just sharpened a pencil. So look out for next week's announcement as to what he does with said pencil.
Writing Press Gang, Series 10.
But no, I like it when they drop them in just like that, just out of nowhere, because, it takes away that potential anticlimax of hyping it all up to midnight and everyone's like, oh, that's it, and go to bed now.
No, I loved it, actually, because I was genuinely shocked, because, I think I just checked Twitter, and there was all these pictures of Jodie with Bradley Walsh and that, and I was just like, What's this? What's this all about? So I always go immediately to the BBC official page just to check it is official, because you never know these days. And it's good. Very nice little spontaneous announcement by the BBC.
Very nice. We've got some exciting news about our reviews coming up. So next month is going to be a slightly different take on the usual classic new thing. We're going to do some exciting reviews next month, so stay tuned. When we finish our review this week, we'll fill you in on what's going on.
Something a bit different.
Aye.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, mate? You sound like you're full of cold.
I am. I'm full of cosmic angst, as the Fifth Doctor would say. No, I've got the blimmin' flu, mate. I've had it for weeks, and I can't get rid of it. But no, don't no sympathy. I know you don't. And so it's the only time my voice sounds anywhere near deep or manly, so I don't mind. But no, so apart from being full of flu and trying to get sympathy from everyone I meet, I've been to a Phantom event. Went to Phantom in Chiswick on Saturday. That's just gone.
Oh, cool. Yes.
Which was a really good little event, actually. Well, you've been to those before, so you know that hall was quite small, isn't it? And this one had an appearance by Tom Baker, so it was completely sold out, and it was very busy. And that little hall was bursting at the seams, if you like. And Tom was looking really well, I have to say.
Okay.
He looked in very good form. He was very chatty and friendly and lovely as well. Because of the price of his auto and photo, for the entire train journey, because I'm trying to be more disciplined these days. I think anyone that's been a regular listener to this podcast will know that I'm not very good at being disciplined when it comes to buying things. So I'm trying to improve on that. So the whole train journey, I was like, it's an auto or a photo, but it's not both. So make up your mind. You've got a whole train journey to decide. So I decided to go for the photo because I have got a couple of autographs of Tom. So I thought I'd go with a photo because, and I think I've said this to you before, I never seem to manage to get a smiley one with Tom. He always looks very serious and whatever. So I thought maybe this will be the one. So so I get there, I go in, and Tom's really chatty. I mean, normally in the photo studio, it's pretty quick. So you go through, you don't normally get a chance to chat too much, you know what I mean? But I can't remember how we got onto it. I think he just randomly come out with it. He was like, do you listen to the Big Finish stuff? I was like, oh yeah, I love it, Tom. I said, I'm loving the Big Finish stuff you're doing at the moment. And then he started talking about Toby Haydock. And now I'm just loving this, but also aware that the photographer is waiting for me to get the photo and, bugger off. And the queue are waiting. And I said, I'm loving chatting to Tom, but I'm also aware that I'm holding the queue up. So we eventually have the photo, and he's lovely and chatty before. And so then I turned to have the photo taken, and the guy's like, that was a good one. I'm like, yes, excellent. Looking forward to seeing this one. So I get the photo back a couple of hours later, and Tom could not look more serious or expressionless. And I was just like, my heart sank. I was just like, oh no. But it's weird because it's still a good photo, but it's just, I don't know, it doesn't represent what was going on at the time. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, no, we were laughing and joking, and he looks really bored. But anyway, so it's always a pleasure to meet Tom, and as I said, he was on top form. And the other guests there were Carol Ann Ford, and also Roberta Tovey, who played Susan in the TV movies. Not the TV movies, in the Peter Cushing movies. So it's very unusual, I think, to have both Susans there. I've never known them at a convention together. Somebody out there might want to correct me, but so I got a photo with the two of them because I thought that's quite unusual to have TV Susan and movie Susan in the same place. So that was good. I was really chuffed with the photo I got with them. Really happy with that, and they were lovely, especially Roberta Tovey. She was really chatty and had loads of nice words to say about Peter Cushing. So that was good. And John Leeson was there as well, but I didn't meet him this time because I've met John a few times, and I think I was with you the last time when we met K9. So I didn't meet him on this occasion, but it was a great day, mate. Loads of people that I chat to through various Doctor Who groups over the years, and that I've never met before. It was really strange. Like, I kept seeing people saying, "Oh, I'm going to that," and I was thinking, "Oh, wow, this is great," because we've been chatting for ages, and I've never actually met you. So it was really good. It was like a massive Who meetup as well. So it was a cracking day. Absolutely cracking day.
That sounds awesome, mate.
Yeah, so it's
really
been good. Cool. Yeah. So that's it. So I didn't really get, I only got Roberta's. I've got Roberta's autograph and Carol's autograph, and that was it. I didn't get Tom's on this occasion, but yes, it was nice. So I was quite restrained for me, wasn't I?
I was going to say, so you actually stuck to your plan. It was like, no, it's the autograph or it's the photo, and you went with the photo.
No, I did, mate. I did because cool. It was 30 for the auto and 30 with the photo. I mean, 25 for the auto, 30 for the photo. So it's just I don't know. Sometimes you just got to be a bit like,
you've got to be frugal.
It adds up too much. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean, mate. You've got to, because anyone that's been to conventions will know that sometimes you think it's going to be a relatively cheap day, but it ends up being anything but most of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So I know what you mean.
I was going to say I had about 11 quid left in my wallet at the end of the day, and I was pleased with that because I don't normally have anything by the time we leave. And then just as I was leaving, my friend was like, "Oh, did you see those really cool badges they had at the where they serve the tea?" And I was like, "No, I better just go and have a look at these before I leave." And they were actually the coolest Doctor Who badges I've seen in a long time. So I was like, "Oh, I'll have a couple of these." So that was 6 quid gone, but they are brilliant. I don't know if you saw the photo I put on Facebook.
I did.
It was like they were like badges of like some of the 60s annual covers, and then what's the other one I bought? Ace's, Ace symbol that she has on her jacket. Badges like that, and they're really good quality as well. So they were very cool. I was very pleased with them. I'm trying to fit them on the handbag, but I can't get them on.
Yeah, they had those there when you and I, the first one that you and I went to.
Oh, right. I don't remember. They're
in the little baskets, aren't they, by the tea?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, by the tea hut. Yeah. So that was that.
Really cool. So I've had a really quiet week in comparison, mate.
Yeah?
Very quiet. I haven't done anything.
Have you not watched anything or listened to anything?
I've watched a couple of bits, yeah. I've watched, I was listening to the soundtrack to An Adventure in Space and Time.
Oh, I really like that.
Which is a real, it's a really...
I can hear it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful soundtrack. And because it's not Murray Gold, it's something different, but still Doctor Who, if you know what I mean. So, and it's just really nice. And after that got me into it. So I did stick that on that evening. And,
cool.
Crying again at like the final 10 minutes. It really does pull at your heartstrings. That does. The last 10 minutes of that whole thing. It all starts that last take where David Bradley's standing by the TARDIS and everyone's ready, and he just that music, that heartbreaking music kicks in, and he looks up and he sees Matt Smith there.
Yeah,
and it's just really beautiful. And then he disappears, and then it's the final bit, and then the camera pans around the studio, and you actually see Hartnell himself giving that little speech at the end. Oh, it's just. It's magic.
Perfection, isn't it? It's perfection, that story. I love that bit, actually, because that's where he's looking around the room. Like you said, it's where it all starts, isn't it? He's looking around the room, seeing everything's changed, like the producer's different, and they don't know how to turn the TARDIS time rotor on, and he's like, "Oh, come out the way."
Yeah.
It's that bit, isn't it? It's brilliant. Yeah, so good. Did it make you think about the forthcoming Christmas special as well? Were you watching it thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to see more"?
Yes,
of him. Yeah, because I did the last time I watched it. Yeah,
it does. It does make you think. What would they do with what? Sorry, what are they going to do with the First Doctor's character? Because it's kind of. I was going to say it's kind of dangerous territory, but it's not in a way. But they have to kind of be careful a little bit, don't they? Because everything that Hartnell's done is there, to be seen if it's not been, deleted or lost. So all of his stories, the ones that are there are all there and current. So I'm hoping that they don't mess too much with the whole timeline of the First Doctor and mess too much with, what he was, because how Hartnell was back in the day when he was making Who. He had, we said it many times about that very old grandpa, grumpy, short-tempered at times.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they don't stray too far, because I think in Adventure in Space and Time, Mark Gatiss, he did do a really cool script and story for that. And I think David Bradley did it justice for the most part. So I'm just hoping that they cling on to that, and we don't get this, different Hartnell that somehow has just appeared out of nowhere. And, the director's like, we'll play it like this and we'll do it like that. I hope they stay true.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I was going to say, because that little glimpse we got of him at the end of, what was that called? The last one of Series 10. Pain. That one.
The last one, yeah. I can't remember the name. Yeah.
No, it's probably right in front of me, actually. But, that little short clip we got of him when he comes around the corner and sees the 12th Doctor, and I don't know, he immediately sort of felt right. It's weird because I love David Bradley in Adventure in Space and Time, but I think I prefer it when he's playing William Hartnell, if that makes sense. I think because, for example, when he's doing the "One day I shall come back" speech, it's slightly different to Hartnell, obviously, and he doesn't seem to have the timing right. So I don't know if it makes sense. I kind of prefer him as Hartnell,
Okay,
but I do love him as the first Doctor, and I can see that. I think he'll do a great performance. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more. I've realised something as well. I don't know why I didn't think of this. We were saying the other week about Nick Briggs being on the credits for the forthcoming Christmas special. We're saying, oh well, obviously the Daleks, the Cybermen are going to be in it. Then I was thinking, well, it's probably the Cybermen, isn't it? Because it's like Mondas, we assume, and stuff like that. So that does make sense, and I'm surprised that it took me so long to put those two together. To be honest, it was only at the weekend I suddenly thought that.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet that it's on Mondas, but again, you never know.
You never know.
When the trailer for The Force Awakens came out, everybody thought that was on Tatooine.
Oh, really?
And it turned out to be Jakku, didn't it? This other desert planet that looked identical to Tatooine.
That's true, so
you never know. You never know. But yeah, that episode we're talking about was obviously The Doctor Falls.
Of course, yeah.
How do we not remember? Our memories are shocking.
Oh, it's shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Long-term listeners
I can't even think
that,
I was going to say, I can't even think what it was before that. I'm not very good with episode titles, I'll be honest with you. The one that always gets me as well is Seeds of Death and Seeds of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Can never, ever remember which is which, because that's one of my favourite Fourth Doctor stories. Whichever one it is. It's Doom, isn't it?
Doom, yes.
Yeah, I think.
Seeds of Death is the second
Doctor one. I see. Even now, I'm thinking, am I right?
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the two that always throw me every time.
Yeah, it is a potential minefield.
I've just Googled it. I had to make sure I was right because I don't want listeners screaming at us at the other end.
Oh yeah, Seeds of Death is definitely second Doctor, Series 6. Yep, if I'm correct.
Seeds of Doom.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's some pretty good titles though for Series 10. Yeah, I quite liked The Eaters of Light. That sounded good anyway, even though the story wasn't that great. It sounded good.
Yeah.
The opening title was genius, the pilot. That was cool.
It's weird actually, because I never liked that. Only because, not because of the title, but only because, again, it becomes confusing. Because if I say to someone, I love the pilot, I'm talking about the William Hartnell one.
Right.
So, again, confusion. But I do also like the 12th Doctor one. But nothing against the title itself.
Yeah. And The Lie of the Land sounded cool as well, with lie as in tell a lie. Yeah.
Oh, what disappointing wrap up that was.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
I know. Terrible.
Anyways, that's what we've been up to.
Yes.
Shall we land it? Do a bit of news?
Go on then.
Let's get the big news done. So, as we said earlier, the Beeb, they launched this image and this little tweet out, and it was an image of Jodie Whittaker with her new TARDIS team.
Yes.
So the rumours are now set. There are no more rumours. It's all been confirmed. Bradley Walsh is.
There he is.
He is, as the picture confirms and everything from the Beeb. He is in the TARDIS team. Now, we don't actually know their complete roles yet, do we? All we know is these additional 3 people are part of what's been coined as the TARDIS team. And a lot of people have said it's the 3 new companions and all that stuff. However, we don't actually know yet what their roles are. So it's a safe bet that these 3 people will not be full-time companions travelling with the Doctor all the time. So that's something to bear in mind, because when I saw everybody going nuts on Twitter saying it's a new companions, I thought it could be. Certainly at least one of them. That's a safe bet, I would say, that at least one of them is a full-time new companion.
If I was to put my money on it, mate, I think Bradley Walsh will be like a recurring character, a bit of a Nardole that's, sort of there, interlinking the stories. And I wouldn't be surprised if the other two and Jodie are the sort of TARDIS team that we get to see most of. I just can see them going on adventures and sort of, I don't know, maybe Bradley, as I said, tagging along now and again, or then going back to Earth and him having some role there. I don't know, but I'll be very surprised if the three of them are traveling with the Doctor for the entire series. I mean, I still think that could work, because I love the Davison era where we had loads of companions, and some people say, TARDIS was too full. I don't think so. I think it worked fine. I know sometimes they didn't always get given a lot to do, but no, I'd be surprised, mate. But it wouldn't bother me if they were, to be honest with you.
No, I think this is really cool. I mean, if they all were, full-time companions, that'd be great. So are you saying that Bradley Walsh's character might be a little bit like Rory's dad?
Possibly, but maybe in it a bit more than that. But I don't know. I can't see him being a full-time companion, but I could be wrong. And I'll say it now, that if he is a full-time companion, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yes.
I really don't.
Yeah, I do want to put my feelings out there about Bradley Walsh, because I kind of went to bat for him a little bit on Twitter the other day, because I saw the majority of tweets saying this is awful, and why on earth would they cast somebody like Bradley Walsh and all that stuff. And the one thing that I've been saying is, where it concerns casting for Doctor Who, they've not really set a foot wrong in the past. Where it concerns, I'm not talking about supporting cast, I'm talking about main regular characters, they've not really put a foot wrong. So I've got a lot of faith in how they cast the show, because they've not really done a bad job since it came back with Eccleston and all that.
No.
And another thing as well is that pretty much all of these things that people are saying were tweeted out word for word when Catherine Tate was announced as being in the show. Everybody said pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Me included, I'll be honest.
And, she turned out to be one of the best companions in the show.
My favourite of the new series.
Yeah. So I think it's quite, it's not probably the best road to go down to start immediately. And the other thing as well is none of us have seen anything to do with it yet. So we've not seen, all we've seen is a photograph of them presumably on their way to a script read through perhaps, or an early production meeting or something like that. We haven't seen any shots from filming. We haven't seen a trailer. We've seen zero. So I think it's a little bit unfair to start judging Bradley Walsh as a companion, or however he's involved with the Doctor and the team and so on, until you've actually seen it. So I just want to put that out there. They haven't really put a foot wrong with casting so far. Even if you didn't agree with it initially and you thought, oh God, this could be terrible, don't agree with this, it normally ends up being really, a great casting decision. So let's have a little bit of faith, a little bit of, let's not just crush him down straight away without seeing anything that he's done yet. So, and then we have the other two people as well. So these, we have somebody called Mandip Gill, who has been, as far as I know, the only thing that I know that is from Hollyoaks.
Yeah, which I wouldn't know because I can't stand Hollyoaks. I must admit, my heart did sink just a little bit when I read the word Hollyoaks, because I find it a despicable program. But I'm going to let that go.
Yes, the same. Yeah, I mean, she has been. I think that's the only thing that I know her from. But apparently, she's been in a few other things as well.
Yeah, good.
And then we also have a guy called. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right. It's either Tosin Cole, who is also known for Hollyoaks, but has also had very small parts in other things. So another thing that people have said as well is that why have they cast these unknowns?
I like it when it's unknowns.
The Doctor. And I have to, just try and come back with some positivity as well, because casting unknowns isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because the second you cast somebody that's well known, and this is the grand irony of all this, as soon as you cast somebody that's well known, your expectation is immediately set, and then you judge whether they're good or bad off of your expectation. Yeah. So that's what's happened with Bradley Walsh, because he's such a well-known celebrity, and whatever you want to class him as, a broad, a presenter, entertainer, comedian, game show host, whatever it is you want to label him as, because he's so well known, and people immediately think, oh, this is going to be rubbish.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because, he probably will be very good. And then the other two cast members who are supposedly unknowns, even though they've got massive Twitter followings and they've been in, some primetime soap shows, they're not really unknowns, are they? They're just not known to people who, so yeah. I think the whole thing, mainly the whole vibe has been positive.
Well, let's I can throw two out there. You got Matt Smith was pretty much unknown before he became the Doctor, and I think he's a fantastic actor and was a great Doctor. And then another one for you, Pearl Mackie. She'd done mostly theatre work. In fact, I think I remember her saying in an interview she hadn't done any television. She was fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I agree with you. I like it when they're unknown because, you don't have any preconceptions. I mean, the thing is with Bradley Walsh, and the reason I don't have a problem with him at all, but I think a lot of people do, is because they just associate him with The Chase, the game show, and they think that's all he's done. No, he's done like crime dramas. He was in an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures. He's a good actor, and just like you said, mate, and I have to echo it as well. When they cast these people, the writers and Chibnall, they've got a plan in mind. They're not just thinking, oh, might be good, or he's obviously got a role that he thinks is perfect for Bradley Walsh. So you've got to have a bit of faith in the writers, in who they choose to play it, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and Bradley Walsh seems like a bit of a lifelong fan as well. One of the quotes that was put out by him to say that he remembers watching Hartnell. Back in the early black and white days, he remembers being petrified and finding it really scary. And then he says he remembers queuing up for ages to get into the Carlton Cinema in Watford to watch the Peter Cushing movies.
Oh, really?
And he says he's thrilled to be part of, a new dawn for the Doctor and stuff. So I love that. I mean, not that makes any difference on his performance at all, but it's clear that he's, a fan of the show. And he's a fan of classic Who as well as being involved in new Doctor Who. So I for one, think he's going to be really good. I really do.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, mate. When I saw this picture, this rumor about Bradley Walsh has been around for a while. I had this gut feeling it was going to be true. So I wasn't surprised when I saw it. But no, I look at the picture and I think, it feels fresh. I can see Chibbers has obviously got his own little master plan, and this is part of that master plan. So bring it on, as far as I'm concerned.
Bring it on.
Let's see what it's like. Yeah. In other news, talking of Series 11, we did get another bit of news, which is about the amount of episodes we're going to get and the running time. So there's been rumours that we were going to get hour-long episodes. That's kind of been... it's kind of been squished. But it's not too bad. So what we are getting, and this has been confirmed, is a series of 10 episodes. The first episode is going to be a 60-minute opener, and then the remaining 9 episodes in the series are going to be 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, presumably, we'll end up with a Christmas special as well, although that hasn't been confirmed as yet, has it?
Not yet. No.
So what do you think of that, mate? So we're getting less Who than we've had before, because technically we're only getting 10 episodes now. So we are going down. I mean, I think back in 10's day, what did we get? Was it 13, 12, and then a special? Because it's slowly gone down over the years. So this is the lowest we've had in some time. But we're getting a slightly longer running time, 50 minutes instead of 45. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you feel about this?
I don't mind it, to be honest with you, because of the slightly extended runtime. So last series 10, we got 11 episodes, and we're also getting a Christmas special.
Yeah.
So we're getting 10. So it's not like they've cut it down to like a little 6 episode mini series or anything like that. We're still getting 10 episodes, and because of the slightly longer runtime, I mean, if you add up it's normally 45 minutes, isn't it?
Normally, yeah.
And then what's that extra 5 minutes? So we get an extra 50 minutes worth of runtime across those 9 episodes. So that's effectively like another. So that's your missing 11th episode, if you like, just, spread out across the series. So, and again, this was something that really kicked off on Twitter with people going berserk about this, saying, I feel shortchanged. And, it's the BBC's way of disguising cutbacks and budget cuts and all the rest of it. And let me just tell you, right, if this is the BBC's way of introducing cutbacks, then so be it. I would rather have this than the show cancelled.
Yeah.
Because if the BBC wanted to, like they've done before, they could have just said, because let's not make any bones about it. The viewing figures are down
massively,
year on year, series on series. So they could very, very easily just pull the plug on Doctor Who. Because I know it was recommissioned, I think months ago we spoke about that story where I think it's been commissioned up until 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Something like that. However, that's never set in stone. Never. So the BBC could easily just say, it's a lot of money to make the show, but yet viewing figures are going down. So we're under pressure to make budget cuts all the time. Let's just pull it. So they could quite easily do that. So I would rather have slightly shorter episodes with longer runtime than the BBC making some real progress in pulling the plug.
Yeah, and also what I'm hoping, and I mean, I've no basis for this, but I'd like to think that by having hopefully the same budget but less episodes, the episodes will look a little bit better, because the budget had started to show a little bit, I think, in some of Peter Capaldi's era. It got better actually in series 10, but I remember me and you have said before, like in series 9 and that some of the CGI in that was shocking. Really. Yeah. It looked like something out of the 80s at times. Well, maybe not that bad, but you know what I mean. And so if they've got a similar budget but they're making less episodes, hopefully they're going to look very, because I'm expecting from Chibnall something very polished. I keep thinking back to Broadchurch and how beautifully filmed it is and how cinematonic is that word? Cinema, whatever that word
is.
Cinematic. That's what I quite like. Cinematonic. Cinematic it looks. So I'm expecting something like that. I don't know about you. I'm hoping they're going to up the production values, make it look like a quality drama, and maybe that's why we're getting less episodes as well. But I do also think it fits into Chiver's plan of this whole one story arc thing that he's got. I think perhaps he's thought about it, and 10 episodes is what he wants to do it over. And so again, I think it's all in the grand scheme of things. So I think it'll be okay. Yeah,
I mean, again, I kind of urge fans to, because don't get me wrong, I'm not preaching, I'm not telling anybody what to think or feel, but I just try and urge you to have a bit more of an open mind about this stuff, because another sense of irony is, for so long people were craving change. For so long we heard people complain endlessly about how the Moff was doing things, and now we get this change up, and in classic Who fandom style, everyone's hating on it. So I just urge people just to just have a bit of trust in what's going on, because you complained all the time about how the Moff was destroying destroying the show, and really crippling it, and everything going to hell. And now we've got Chibbers who comes in with some fresh ideas, and the biggest change being a female doctor. But on top of that, we've now got a different number of episodes, a slightly different runtime. It's all change that we were all asking for. This is all the stuff that we were going on about for for at least the last 2 series that the Moff was in charge. We were like, he's got to go. And not you and I were saying this, but that was the general feeling. He's got to go. We need a change. It's all got to. And now we've got all these things, and everyone's like, I don't like this. Can we go back to how it was before? So let's just
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, it must be so difficult to be involved in making Doctor Who, because, like you just said, mate, you make a change, and that people have been asking for, and then when you make it, you're condemned, to changing the formula. So, but there we go. I don't personally mind it. I think as long as at the end of the day, the runtime is irrelevant. If the story works, what does it matter how long it takes you to get from A to B?
Exactly.
If it doesn't matter if it's half an hour or an hour. If the story works and it's a good script and the performances are there, what does it matter?
Yeah.
So, but that's going to, so you are right. That's the first episode, though, is an hour. So not too much of a difference between the 50 minutes and the opener, but that might be quite cool, though. The old...
I like it when we get a longer opener, as long as it's not like Deep Breath that had so much padding in it. That actually, I was... you know what I mean? Because I remember Deep Breath was longer, wasn't it? And I was thinking, that's good. But there was so much in there that could have been cut. But as long as it's, like you just said, got a good story in that, then great. And I like it when we get a slightly longer final as well, don't you? I think Series 10, Dr. Falls was slightly longer, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
So I like it when we get like a nice long beginning and end, but we'll see what we get.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Series 11 news mentioned and done. If you want to send us your thoughts and feelings on that, we'll happily wax lyrical about that stuff. Just tweet us or whatever. So that's going to do... Oh, no, we've got one more news item, sorry. Pearl Mackie has picked up an award on behalf of Doctor Who. Something called an Ali Award.
Oh, okay.
by an Ali Award by Pink News, and it's the award for the LGBT inclusiveness.
Ooh.
And it's not for her role in particular, it's just for the long-standing policy that Doctor Who has had for including LGBT characters in the show.
Okay.
So it goes right back to the RTD era with Jack Harkness, the omnisexual Jack Harkness.
Get it right, don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and then they sort of fast forward a little bit until we get to Bill Potts, obviously played by Pearl Mackie. So, I remember when Pearl Mackie said, when she announced it publicly, that Bill Potts was an openly gay character. I remember that the one thing that the LGBT community did say was that this stuff is really important because it's about awareness. It's not just about Doctor Who trying to tick boxes, about how, they cast their show and, ethnicity and sexuality and stuff like that. It's just about, being a bit of a role model, perhaps, to younger viewers who might be going through that. It's just about awareness, really. So just making it, sort of not hiding it away. So, because with some TV programs, if we rewind a few years, there were sort of the suggestion that a certain character could be gay, but it was never explicitly stated. It was just sort of a leaning to, and as times have moved on. So I think this is great that Doctor Who's involved in this because, like I said, I like the fact that they haven't just awarded it because of Bill Potts' character. They've actually awarded it to the show in general for its inclusion of LGBT characters. So Pearl Mackie picked that up and she said, it's lovely to be able to accept the award on behalf of Doctor Who. She feels honoured to have been invited, let alone for the Doctor Who and the character of Bill. And she says it's a testament to how well she was received. I met a couple of young girls who were BAME and talked to me about watching Bill on Doctor Who enabled them to come out and feel comfortable with their own sexuality. And she said, for me, that's a massive achievement. So I really that's what I was saying earlier, that it's really cool for Doctor Who to be completely unshy about that stuff, because it does help people. Because, TV, when you fall in love with a TV show or you fall in love with certain characters from TV shows, it does make you feel like you know them.
Yeah, that's true.
You do have this sense of, like you feel like and although it's just their character, it's not the real person, you do feel like you know them. So if that in some way helps young people, then that's all brilliant as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Yeah. So that was Pink News. I'm not sure when that was. I think it was, anyway, last week, at some point. Yes. And just lastly, the Pink News. They celebrate the contributions of politicians, businesses and community groups towards LGBT equality in the UK. So that's good.
Yeah, very important.
Yes. That's going to do for news.
Yeah, that's it. Can you ask our metal friend to bring in a mug of Lemsip on that tray along with all the merch?
Let's see.
Let's see if he's got something.
Oi! Lemsip, please.
What's he saying? He's so uncaring. He probably...
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Afraid
You
not,
can't fool
mate.
me. Oh,
Afraid not.
what's this? Cup of oil?
He's crafty, isn't he? Eh?
He's terrible, isn't he? Go on, off you go.
Crafty.
He's laughing at me. I
Yes.
can tell he is.
Yeah. He has thrown down a few bits, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, there's one bit I like. You won't like it. I like it.
First bit is we've got a book that's been regenerated. You don't hear that often.
Mm.
Yes, so those of you that have seen this book, it's been out for the first edition, I think it's been out for quite a while. It's called Doctor Who, Whoology. And I remember this is one of the first books that I picked up, I believe, when I got into Doctor Who.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah. And yeah, it's just basically like a book full of facts and interesting snippets and everything about Who from the Hartnell years all the way through. And they've done a new edition. So it's called the Regenerated Edition. And it's essentially got everything to cover right up until the Doctor falls. So it includes the last 2 or 3 series before, you know, it was released. And it is out on January the 11th next year, which sounds a long time away, but it's really not, is it?
Oh, no, it's not really, no.
We're at the end of October now, so it's basically a couple of months away.
It's rattling round, yeah.
$14.99 paperback. I think this came out in hardback first.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got this. I don't think I have. I remember a few people saying it was good, though, and that I should get it.
It is quite cool, mate.
Yeah.
I remember reading through it thinking, wow.
But it's definitely hardback. I remember my friends got it. It definitely was hardback, yeah.
Hold on. I can confirm. I'm looking at it on the shelf now.
Oh, you got it, have you?
It's hardback, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was, yeah.
So paperback, that's interesting. But anyways, essentially it's the same book, but it's just been updated to include a lot more of the Capaldi stuff. So as you journey from an unearthly child all the way through, lots of facts and fun tidbits and stuff.
Yeah, I like the fact they've sort of kept the same cover but just slightly changed it. You know what I mean? It's an updated version, so that's quite cool. Yeah. So yeah, I will check. I haven't got this because I have got a lot of books.
You probably have
just piled up, and it's probably in that pile, but I don't remember it. But I do remember people telling me I should get it. So yeah, might check out that new version. Here's something I definitely will be getting, but I don't know about you. But Titans.
Here we go. Titans.
Another TARDIS variant, but it's one that's been out before, but you could only get it in the 3.5-inch size before, and now they're re-releasing a 4.5-inch version of it, which is the Snow TARDIS. Now, I wanted to get this for ages because it was a rare chase variant, and it went for blimmin' silly money on eBay. I occasionally just check eBay to see if it's on there, and it's normally around 50 quid or something silly. A friend of mine managed to get it blind boxed for £3.99.
Oh wow!
Couple of months. I know. I couldn't believe it when you opened the box because you know, a little while back, Forbidden Planet reduced a lot of their Titan figures to £3.99 to clear stock. They were like the old batch, and he just got so lucky. He opened it, and it was this Snow TARDIS, and I was like, do you know how rare that is? Do you know how long I've been trying to get that blimmin' thing? Because it's basically the TARDIS with snow, and it's got like the little reef on it, and it reminds me of the Tennant era, and I'm guessing it's from his Titan batch back whenever that was. So you know, makes me think of that Snow advert. Do you remember with the TARDIS buried in the snow? And I'm sure that was Tennant, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So but this is going to be a bigger version, 4.5, and for a little while it was only available from BBC Shop in America, because I got quite excited when I saw they doing this big version of it, and I was like, must get it. Clicked on it, I was like, BBC Shop? Thought that was closed down, and then I realised it was the American version. But it has now become available in the UK from forbiddenplanet.co.uk. So it seems to be that's the only shop at the minute that are going to be stocking it. Now, I don't know about you, mate. I've heard lots of people. No, I've read lots of posts saying this is going to be really limited in the UK. So I panicked a bit when it first came out. I was like, right, add to basket straight away. It hasn't that hasn't sold out of the pre-order yet. So either it's unpopular or it's not limited. I don't know.
Yeah.
But somebody told me we were only going to get like 70 to sell in the UK or something. I don't know where that rumor come from, but
okay.
But anyway, yes, I'm quite happy with this. I know you're probably sick to the back teeth of Titan variants, but are you slightly taken with this one?
Well, let me just tell you.
You've ordered it.
I've ordered this one.
Yay!
Like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, although I'm not a huge fan of the Titans stuff, I don't mind it. It's quite cool. But I do like the TARDIS models that they've done. Anything to the TARDIS, really, I find quite... And these ones are really... I hate using this word, but it is very cute.
It is cute.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's been pre-ordered.
Oh, I'm pleased to hear it. I mean, it's just that they have done quite a lot of TARDIS variants now, so I think people were getting a bit... Because they did one only a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? A glow-in-the-dark one.
That's right.
And then they did that Pandorica Opens one. They've done a Bad Wolf one, and I think people were just like, how many variants do we need? They've done a silver one, I think. But this is I think this is a nice variant, and obviously very Christmassy, so gets you in that Christmassy mood. That's just around the corner.
It's really Christmassy. It's got the little, obviously it's covered in snow, which looks Christmassy already, but then it's got the little Christmas wreath on the front.
Yeah, so, I think it's cool. I love it.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Like it. Yeah, so that's ordered. So when's that out? This December, isn't it? 7th of December, apparently.
Yeah, it's it. It's not a bad price, is it? Is it $12.99?
$12.99, yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
So we shall see if we get one, because I still haven't got my First Doctor Funko Pop yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be on to them at some point, make no mistake.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because a friend of mine ordered it from co.uk, same as you, and I was saying to him, well, just get it from .com. They've got it in stock, but I have a feeling .com have removed it from their page. They must have sold out because I can't see it on there anymore at all.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure FB will get it in very soon, mate. I'm sure they will.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's merch from old Grumpy Dalek Tats.
Yeah.
It's review time.
Oh, yes.
Adam, old chap.
Gary, Toad Face.
What are we doing this week?
My good Toad. We are doing Third Doctor classic story, The Time Warrior.
Stars are falling!
You come to challenge me, Sky Warrior?
I thought all this might give me a good story. I'm a journalist, Sarah Jane Smith.
You treacherous dog!
I don't understand. Where am I?
I'm Commander Lynx, 5th Sontaran Army Space Fleet.
Well, there's always something you can do. It's just a matter of working out what.
A Sontaran warrior. I've been expecting you. Why did you follow me to this time?
To prevent your interference with the affairs of Earth.
With an army of magic knights such as I fought, Iron Gron could conquer the whole kingdom.
Here they come, Doctor.
He who strikes Iron Gron dies.
Iron Gron.
Iron Gron, yeah.
There's who strikes Iron Gron die.
He's got some good sayings, isn't he?
He has.
Oh, Iron Gron.
Yeah.
Treacherous Toad.
The Time Warrior. Third Doctor story. Originally sent out on the 15th of December, 1973.
Yes.
It was part of Series 11 back then. It was written by Robert Holmes and directed by Alan Bromley. Overseen by Mr. Terence Dix.
Yeah.
And the story is the Doctor is still working with UNIT, and he hold on, let me get this right. He's working at UNIT, and he picks up something called something waves. He builds this little contraption while he's working at UNIT. Yeah. And he picks up these waves, and it turns out to be Centauran from 100 years previous to that. And he's kind of casting his net far and wide because he's trying to pick up sort of brainy scientists to bring them back to repair his ship. So where the Doctor's studying with UNIT, the scientists are going missing. So he builds a little contraption, finds out that it's a Centauran stealing these scientists, locks onto it somewhat goes in the TARDIS back in time to the medieval times. And what's happened is the Centauran called Lynx has kind of begrudgingly asked for help from Irongron and his little band of peeps in his castle. He's asked them for help in trying to repair his ship. So he kind of gets drawn into this little kind of medieval Game of Thrones kind of thing, because Irongron and his little band of people in his castle, he reckons he's like the most powerful. Nobody can oppose him, but there's another castle down the road, and they've got their little thing going on, and they think that Irongron's going to invade them, so they cook up a plan to have him assassinated. And also Lynx is kind of in the middle of this medieval balance of power going on, because apparently the King of England has sent all of his troops off to war, so there's nobody to oppose these little power greedy kings in their castles. And then the Doctor turns up. Obviously he's trying to find out where the scientists are, and he works it all out that Lynx has captured them, hypnotized them, they're working on his ship. But then the Doctor gets captured as well, and then he gets drawn into this game between the two of them as well, and he helps the other guys sort of ward off Irongron, and then he helps them capture Irongron, and it turns out that everybody sort of not lives happily ever after, because it's not good news for Irongron and his band of followers, because as Lynx's ship does get repaired, which the Doctor sort of tampers with a little bit, he kind of goes to take off, blows up Irongron's castle, so the ones that didn't run out and make it would have been blown to smithereens, I assume. And then the guy, I've forgotten his name, the bowman from the other castle, he kind of thanks the Doctor and Sarah Jane. They go off, assumingly going to start some new adventures, because it is Sarah Jane's first adventure with the Doctor, her first appearance. And I presume they're off back to Unit, and the people in that castle, I think the guy who runs the other castle, I think his name's Edward of Wessex, I believe, and his wife, Lady Eleanor. Yeah, so those two, they live happily ever after, because Irongron's gone. No more threat from those guys. Lynx gets killed because his ship blows up, and the Doctor and Sarah Jane head back to Unit, I assume. Or so we think. So, that's the Time Warrior, and I think I've done a fairly decent-ish job of explaining what it's all about, I think. And it's a 4-parter as well, so it's 4 parts over roughly 25 minutes each. So, the Time Warrior, what do you reckon to this one, mate?
The Time Warrior, yes. Do you know what, mate? I think this is a little gem of a story. I love this one, actually. I really, really do. I haven't watched it for a long time, actually. It's a real treat giving this a rewatch, because I knew that I liked it, but I'd forgotten how much, if you know what I mean. So I put it on, and I just loved it. So it's a good one for me, this one. What about you?
I'm glad that you've said that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because I have exactly the same thoughts as that. I think this one is a little hidden gem.
Yeah, I think so.
Of the Pertwee era. I think sometimes it gets a little bit of flack. I think it's not a Marmite story where you love it or hate it. I think it's generally well received, but there are some people that can't stand it. They just think it's no good at all. But I think this is a great little story, and it's one of those classic Who stories that fits perfectly into the 4 parts.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, because, with even some 4-parters that we've reviewed, we've said, this could easily have been a 2-parter or a 3-parter at the most. Thank God it wasn't 6 parts, because 4 parts is, stretching it. But this one seemed to fit really well. It didn't have that middle dip, if you like.
Oh, do you know one of the notes I wrote? Because normally we say, don't we? Sometimes you get to episode 3, and that tends to be the one where it's a bit filler, and then things pick up in episode 4. If anything, episode 3 in this one, everything kicks off.
Yeah.
So you get the resolution to the cliffhanger, and then there's loads of action at the start of episode 3. And I was sat there thinking, this is just great, because normally things are, like you said, taking a dip, and then we pick it back up. And yeah, it's a perfect 4-parter, actually. none of it feels padded to me at all. There isn't anything really that feels boring, or where I sort of thought, I might just have a quick check of the phone because, this is dragging a bit. There's none of that with this story. It just flows. It made me laugh at times. It's got action in it. We've got loads of firsts in it. So it's the first Sarah Jane story. It's the first Sontaran story. It's the first time we get Gallifrey mentioned. And this is my favourite, and it's the one that a lot of people forget. It's the first time we get the new title sequence, which is my favourite title sequence, which is sort of, most people will associate it with the Tom Baker era because it kind of got chopped and used for that. And I think a lot of people forget that in John Pertwee's last series, we had this intro, and I love it because it starts with, reminds me of when they go to hyperdrive in Star Wars. Yeah, am I saying the right thing? When the Millennium Falcon hits,
yes.
Is it hyperdrive?
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. So it starts with that effect, and then it goes into the tunnel effect, and we get the diamond logo for the first time. And I just love that intro. It's actually my favourite, and obviously slightly different theme as well. So there's lots of firsts happening in this story. But yeah, it just flows, doesn't it? It doesn't get boring, and it's quite a simple story as well. It's just really about Link's trying to repair his ship and get home, and then there's all the stuff going on between the two, castles and all that. But it's quite a simple story, isn't it? But it just fits perfectly in those 4 episodes.
Yeah, it does. The story flows along quite nicely because although it's not, every episode isn't jam packed full of action and stuff going on. There just seems to be the right amount of content of going, because the first episode it's more about because we have the Brigadier, don't we, at the beginning, and
I forgot he was in it actually. Yeah,
even though he's in it very little, he's only in it a small part at the beginning. He's still brilliant, and it's more about sort of introducing Sarah Jane, isn't it? Because she kind of she's there as a reporter, but she's blagged her way into unit. And the Doctor discovers that quite quickly, and she stows away on the TARDIS. And goes back in time with the Doctor. So we kind of see it through her eyes a little bit as well, because she's trying to unravel what's going on, because she thinks it's all a big game. She thinks it's just like medieval, fun day.
It's quite an interesting idea, I thought.
Yeah. So we're kind of going through the motions, watching it through, because as you say, it's a first, isn't it? So that's quite cool. And then episodes 2, 3, and 4 really just that sort of build up where you think, is Link's going to have his ship repaired? Is he going to be able to blast off? Because the Doctor knows that once that happens, it's going to cause a huge explosion. It's going to wipe out the castle and Iron Grom and all his people. Yeah. And then we think, well, on top of that, we have these little captures as well. So Sarah Jane gets captured. The Doctor gets captured at one point. I've forgotten the guy's name, but the bowman that they send out to assassinate Irongron, the guy looks a bit like Robin Hood with a long...
Han, is it? Hal.
Yeah, so he gets captured as well. And then we have this sort of escapee sort of thing where the Doctor escapes, goes back to the other castle and helps them. And all the while you've got Link's, sort of building up because this big tension between him and Irongron. So Irongron's
brilliant,
desperate for these weapons that Link's has promised him. And then in return, but you kind of think, is it going to go to blows as well? Because you sort of get the feeling that Link's is going to kill Irongron at some point.
I thought that, yeah.
But then you also think that Irongron's going to kill Link's as well. He's going to take him out, because he does actually say, once I've got the weapons, I'm going to, do him off. And so there's this build-up of tension that I love in episodes 2 to 4. And then, it just culminates with the Doctor saving the day exactly as it should do. And it's one of those great Doctor companion stories where, even though Sarah Jane's not a proper quote-unquote companion at this stage, she does sort of assume her role quite quickly. She does, once she figures out that the Doctor's not the bad guy, because that's a cool twist. That's a cool... twist is not the right word, but
no, I know what you mean. I thought that as well. I thought that's a nice idea, that that she thinks he's in on it.
So she thinks he's a baddie. So she actually aids in capturing the Doctor, because
that's quite funny, that bit. She's like, this isn't a rescue, I'm here to capture you. And he's like, what the
So I think, this is just testament to just how brilliant Robert Holmes is. To write a script like that, which could have gone badly wrong on screen, It's just a wonderful script, and it moves along nicely, and it's fairly well decently directed as well, because it's quite a small.
I think so. Yeah,
it's not very adventurous with its sets or its locations. So the sets are just Lynx's makeshift laboratory in the dungeon, I suppose, of a castle. We've got this little room, which is the dining hall, I think, of Irongron's castle. We've got the similar thing in Edward of Wessex's castle, a kitchen, and then the unit office. And they're all really small. None of these sets are very big, are they? And then we've got some location stuff, which is the courtyard of a castle somewhere, and then a couple of little bits outside in the woods.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it?
I think that's it. So, in order to bring that story to life, it's quite difficult when you haven't got much to play with. You've only got a handful of very basic small sets and a couple of outdoorsy bits. But yeah, it just works. It just,
I think you're right. I think it is a cracking script for a start. But I think you saying about bringing it to life, it is down to the cast, actually. I think the cast in it are fantastic. Like, everybody in it is just so good, so well cast, and they really do bring it to life, this story. Because I'm not a great fan of historicals. I mean, if you could call it an historical, I tend to find them not some of them I like, but they can quite often be quite boring, because you get all the whole, we talking like this, the old accents and all that, and it can get a little bit dull. But it really works in this. Like, they do speak a little bit different, don't they? I can't really think, like when he's going, calling people toad face and all that sort of stuff. But it's so funny. But I just find everybody in it so on point, and like, it's quite nice the way the location and studio material mixes together. I mean, you can tell it's a set, obviously, but it does work. It doesn't feel too jarring, if you know what I mean. And the direction's quite nice. I think if I was to be ultra critical, I might say the fight scene at the end. Is it episode 2 where there's quite a long shot of the Doctor throw it? Well, it's clearly a stunt man. It's probably Terry Walsh dressed as John Pertwee throwing barrels and straw around for what feels like about 5 minutes. That's, if I was going to be ultra critical, that's about the only bit where I was thinking, now this needed tightening up. But on the whole, the direction's really nice on this, I think. It's quite nicely shot. It's interesting because it was the first story in series 11, wasn't it? But it was actually filmed as the last story in series 10. So I kept thinking all the way through I thought the chemistry between the Doctor and Sarah Jane was quite good. And I was wondering how Pertwee was feeling, because, obviously I'm not sure if would he have filmed the Green Death? Katie Manning would have left. Now, I'm assuming they filmed this afterwards. I could be wrong. It might have just been in the same block, but must have been quite strange for him to be working with a new assistant while still in that series of working with Katie, if you know what I mean. Because I have a feeling they filmed him out of order. So, in other words, this was filmed and held back for series 11, but it was actually filmed at the end of series 10. So I kept thinking all the way through, knowing how close John Pertwee and Katie Manning were, might have been quite strange for him to film this at the end of that series, and getting used to a new companion and then having to sort of properly start again whenever they did start filming for the next series, but I think they work really well in this. I think Sarah Jane is particularly strong. I think she gets a really great first story, really good as a companion. She gets loads to do. She's feisty. She's instantly likable, isn't she?
She's great. Yeah. I agree with you, mate. I think her and John Pertwee get on really well for their first outing. And you kind of get the feeling that John Pertwee's just this really likable, easygoing, but still, wants it to be great. So he's probably got a decent work ethic, and you can tell, because when we see some of the behind the scenes of John Pertwee, sometimes he gets really, not flustered, but he gets quite, he really wants scenes to go well, and when he has to do things several takes, he gets a little bit annoyed with himself.
Yeah.
So you can tell that although he's like that, he's probably a really lovely guy to be around. So that's probably, Liz Sladen, and I reckon they got on really well because you can tell on screen that they get on really well, because the very first conversations that they have at the unit office at the beginning, Pertwee's got like a little grin on his face as he's talking
twinkle
to her. Yeah.
His eye, isn't he? Yeah.
And she's playing the very strong, don't intimidate me, don't patronize me just because I'm a woman. You don't feel that you can be that way with me, because he does try his luck a little bit, doesn't he? Old Pertwee. He does say like,
well, it's quite refreshing, isn't it? Because it's a nice change. Because I think if he'd have told Joe Grant to go and make a cup of tea, she'd have gone, yes, doctor, and done it. Because I love Joe Grant's companion, but that's sort of that time. I think we're seeing a slight shift in time here, aren't we? You know what I mean? In changing attitudes, I mean. Because like Sarah Jane's very much not that, oh, I'll go and make the tea then. She's very much like, well, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean you can boss me around. She's very much that stronger, going into the later in the 70s character. So it's a nice change up, I think.
It is, yeah. And that's the cool thing that sets her character off, is that strong, determined, not your typical, so some companions up to that point, sometimes they're not really companions, they're more just help, if you know what I mean. They're like the Doctor's aide, if you need something, they'll go and get it, or whereas Sarah Jane, she puts her foot down right from the off. She's like,
and she really gets stuck in, doesn't she, as well? That's the thing. She's like, she's up for sort of getting things sorted, and she's quite prepared to do that, off her own back, if you like.
Yes.
Like even taking on the Doctor, who's might have been a bit intimidating. She's like having none of it.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the appeals of Sarah Jane as a character, is that she definitely changed up the whole female companion space, if you like. If you can imagine Sarah Jane going into the TARDIS and the Doctor, meeting the Doctor, and he says, "Go and make me a cup of coffee." She's like, "All right then." That would have just been just run of the mill. We've seen this before, So I think that's what a lot of people like about her, is that she's very much her own person, will stand up to anyone, including the Doctor.
Yeah.
And we see it with Tom as well, surprisingly, because Tom can, apparently can be a bit of a, as we said in the past, he had a reputation for being not the easiest person to work with at times. And even with Tom, she stood up when she didn't, you could tell that she wasn't going to be shouted down, if you like, and told what to do. So, it's a good story for her to get into as well, because she actually has something to do right in her first story. It's not one of those. It's not one of those stories where she just follows the Doctor around and screams now and then, and gets captured and waits to be rescued. She actually gets stuck in. She goes undercover. She dresses up. She catches a little plan. She motivates people. She really does play a key role in. Because if it wasn't for her, then the story would have ended very differently. So, so I think it's a great story for her to get stuck in with. And it could have gone the other way. They could have said, oh, it's a new companion, we need to ease her in, a little bit. Let's not go too mad with the first one. But no, she just went in at the deep end straight away. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely a good debut story for her, isn't it? Yeah, she definitely gets, like you said, stuck in. I'd have loved to have seen... when she goes into the TARDIS, I'd have just loved to have seen her on the TARDIS set there. I always feel like there's a scene missing there. Do you know what I mean? She goes in and you're sort of waiting for her. There's none of that, wow, what's this? And I can't remember. So in the next story, what would it be? Invasion of Dinosaurs. Can't remember if we ever get any reaction shot or anything. I wonder where she went, because she goes in and then the Doctor goes in and presumably he doesn't see her because he doesn't realise she's there till they've landed. So I wonder where she wanders off to when she goes in that TARDIS. Does she go and find the food machine, or does she go and find a bedroom, or where does she go? I don't know, but in a way it's quite nice because it's left your own imagination. But I was waiting for her to walking onto the TARDIS set for the first time, which I'm assuming doesn't happen until the next story. I can't remember. I haven't watched Invasion of Dinosaurs for years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And what did you think to the pacing? Because we often speak about the classic Who stuff as sometimes being a bit slow. It can, and I think that's slightly unfair in a way, but just because the way that we watch it is not how it was intended to be viewed. So back in the day, it was intended to be watched once a week. You wouldn't watch it all together, or it's 2 and then 2 or however.
Yeah.
So we watch it as a bit of a binge watch, if you like, but it wasn't intended that way. So the pacing is going to feel slightly longer and drawn out when you watch it all together. But how did you feel on this one? Because I watched all 4 of them back to back. I didn't split it up and watch 2 and 2. And I thought that was really nicely paced, actually. It didn't feel like a classic Doctor Who, if that makes sense. It did sort of go along quite nicely. It wasn't super fast, but it did move along at a decent pace for me.
I could have quite happily. I watched it 2 and 2 actually. I watched 2 Monday and 2 Tuesday, but I would have quite happily watched it all in one go. It was just the timing. I could only fit 2 episodes in a night, but no, I think the pacing is great in this story. I think it just flows very nicely. It doesn't rush. It doesn't drag. It's not full on action, but it's just a really engaging watch. So yeah, I could have quite happily watched it all in one go, which is not something I very often recommend with a Doctor Who story, especially in the Pertwee era, because a lot of them tend to be 6 or 7 parters. So, it's not something I would say a lot, but on this one, yeah, I think you could just quite happily watch it all in one go. Mainly because there's, the performances, I think, just they're so fun to watch. You got what's his name? The Iron Gron, isn't it?
Iron Gron.
It's so fun when he's on screen. Just getting on his high horse and thinks he's the big I am and all that. It's I just found it a real fun watch.
Yeah, it is a fun watch because it has that right level of. It's got that good balance between. It's a little bit suspenseful at times. It's got some decent character building as well. And the support cast, I do think sometimes they can ham it up just a little bit, mainly on Iron Gron's side. So him and the completely inappropriately named Blood Axe. Because if you were to read that on paper, you'd think, right, he sounds like a right mean,
yeah,
yeah, do you know what I mean? But he turns out to be just this blundering bloody. Come on, the stars are falling. Look.
And he blimmin' loves Iron Gron, doesn't he? He's really sort of sucks up to him, doesn't he? Going, oh, you're the best, you are. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, the name doesn't suit his character because he does. I don't think he even gets involved in a fight, does he?
No, I think he might get a hayak from Pertwee at one point, doesn't he? I think that's about as close as he gets to a fight.
Yeah, he gets a slap, and then that's the only thing that happens. He just follows Iron Gron around, and you're bloody brilliant, you are. You're going to lead us to this other castle and going to take it over, and it's going to be bloody brilliant, it is. So I do think he hams it up a little bit. And
maybe a little.
Certainly Iron Gron, David Dacre, I think he certainly rattles the rafters a little bit with his
See, I just thought he was brilliant.
Oh, he's brilliant.
But he does ham it up, no doubt about it. But I thought he was excellent. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the making of, did you, of this? Because
yes,
Barry Letts was saying his first choice to play that character was Bob Hoskins.
Oh, right, okay.
And he was like, Bob Hoskins obviously wasn't as famous back when they filmed this. Yeah. And he was saying to him, why don't you, he said, I can't do it, but you should use David Dacre. So Barry Letts was like, interesting. Hadn't even considered him, but let's see what he's like. And do you know, I just think he's brilliant in it. I absolutely think his performance, although slightly over the top, is it's not over the top like, what was that thing we watched the other week? Was it Nightmare of Eden, where the guy died at the end and was laughing and being real pantomime? And
yeah.
What was that guy's name? But not like that over the top, because I just found that cringy. But with David Dacre, I thought he was just really fun to watch. I loved it. I thought he was just perfect as that character.
He was,
because I love the fact he's so full of himself. And all this sort of friction between him and Lynx, I just found hilarious, especially when he decides to finally take Lynx on, and Lynx just throws him over that table as if to say, don't mess with me. I thought this is just great stuff, It's brilliant. These two giants that are sort of like, strutting around each other, and as if like, I'm going to sort you out in a minute, or I'm going to sort you out in a minute, and all that. I just thought he was brilliant at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought he was fun.
Yeah, it's that power struggle is something that's is a running theme through the story, really, because Irongron's so desperate, isn't he? He's so desperate to sort of stamp his authority, and because at the end of the day, he hasn't been made by anybody into this ruler of anything or nobleman or anything like that. Basically, he's taken his castle like a bit crafty, because the person that was living in this castle had gone somewhere, and Irongron had just sort of slipped in and made it his home.
That's right. Yeah.
But he does have ideas above his station, because, like you say, he's just got this attitude like, just watch this. I've got this, don't worry. But yeah, he hasn't really proved himself. And the only thing that we hear really is, I think he's talking to either the Doctor or Lynx. I can't remember who he's talking to, but in this one scene, he's saying that, a few people have tried to, take siege on his castle and he's been victorious. But that's the only little thing that we hear that he's actually done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really funny because he especially with Lynx, they're the funniest and potentially unintentionally funny parts of the story, where Lynx is obviously a lot more technically advanced and, it could probably take him out relatively quickly without any fuss. Whereas Irongron, he's not having it. He's just pretty much every scene he's in with Lynx, you think they're going to have a tear up. You think they're just going to start, smashing the crap out of each other. But
I love the relate. Sorry, God.
Yeah, and that's really down to Irongron, because he's got this sort of fear, that he's going to lose his power and lose his castle, and he's just not having it. So everybody's a threat and everybody's ready for a tear up. It's brilliant.
He doesn't trust Lynx, basically, does he? I mean,
Not
Lynx even built him a robot. I love that scene. And when because he's so full of himself, Irongron, and he's got this killer machine, and then gets the control shot out of his hand, and it sort of turns on him, and he's like, "What's going on?" I loved that. I thought it was brilliant. So talk about get your own comeuppance. But yeah, Lynx is, Lynx tries to win him over, but Irongron's just always got this sneaky, untrusting nature about him that he just can't. Even when Lynx gives him guns and stuff, he just always wants to get a shot of him. He's probably a bit intimidated by him, and he sort of thinks they're all going to look up to him. I need to get a shot of this guy. He's too flash. I think that's what it is. He's jealous of Lynx. Yeah.
Irongron's character reminds me of a really old school. I'm talking like back in the 60s and 70s. Not that I was alive, but he reminds me of an old school teacher.
Oh, right.
From back in the 60s and 70s, who just one of these teachers that wanders around the corridors, like giving kids like a clip round the ear, when they're not really doing much wrong, but he's like, that's in case you do something wrong. And, that kind of mentality where he's just very physically funny and physically, sort of up for it all the time is the best way to describe it, I think.
I know what you mean.
And he really comes through so well. So David Dacre just plays it, like you said, brilliantly. There are a few times where he does think that there's a theatre audience in front of him rather than a TV camera. But it's few and far between. But yeah, he's so funny.
For me, he's great in it. I think he really brings something to the story. Like you said, he just brings it to life very nicely, I think.
Yeah.
It was driving me mad trying to work out where I knew the character Hell from.
Me too.
All the way through, because I was thinking he's sort of like you said, like this Robin Hood character. Mm-hmm. And I was like, who is that guy? I know him. I've seen him in something else. And I was thinking it's probably from another Doctor Who story. And actually he has been in a couple of Doctor Who stories, as it turns out, but that's not where I know him from. And I know that you know. So you were doing the same. Were you thinking, I know him?
As soon as I saw him, I thought, that face.
I know you.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah.
So obviously we both know him as Boba Fett from Star Wars. Although obviously he's under a mask in that, but of course I've seen him at conventions, and I've actually got a signed Boba Fett picture from him. But yeah, I didn't know it was him until I watched the making of, and obviously he's on the making of talking, and I was like, oh, It's him. It's Boba Fett. So I just couldn't place him all the way through because I must admit I skipped the credits, obviously to move on to the next episode. So I didn't. If I'd have seen the name, Jeremy Bulloch, I'd have known. I'd be like, oh, it's Boba Fett. But yeah, I was a little bit pleased when I saw that he'd been in it. I didn't realise he'd been in Doctor Who a couple of times either.
No, me either.
He's been in a Hartnell story. He was in. What was he in? He's been in 3, I think, but I can't remember what they were. But yeah, so it's quite a nice little tie-in to Star Wars.
It is, yeah. And I only recognised him from, like you said, from seeing him at a convention.
Yeah,
because obviously he's under his mask in Star Wars and stuff. But I also recognise him from somewhere else, and I thought, where have I bloody seen him from? And he was in. I used to love this old program called Robin of Sherwood.
Oh right, yeah,
that used to be on TV years ago. And yeah, he was in a handful of those episodes, and I remember him from that as well.
Oh,
but he definitely had one of those faces, and I thought, because I remember when I watched this a couple of years ago, and I didn't fast forward the credits, and when it said Jeremy Bulloch, I was like, there we go, there he is. But yeah, what else was in he in? He was in the Space Museum.
Space Museum. Yeah.
And something else, wasn't he?
I mean, he's when you look at his list, he's done quite a lot actually. I mean, obviously, I'll always know him as Boba Fett because that's why I associate him with. But yeah, he's done quite a bit, over the years. It's a bit like David Dakin. I keep saying his name wrong. The guy who played Iron Gron, David Dacre. Sorry, David Dacre. Because I always associate him with a program called Boone. I don't know if you remember that. He was like quite a big part in that series, which ran for years. Do you remember Boone?
Yes.
The guy who used to ride around on the bike.
The painter and decorator
Silver. Guy. That's it, yeah. Yeah, so I immediately think of him as that, although, he's obviously got a wig and a beard on in this, so he does look quite different. But
yes. But yeah, if anyone that hasn't watched Robin of Sherwood, the old TV show from the 80s, it's bloody brilliant.
Is that the one with David? Jason. I think I remember it. Who's the lead guy?
The lead guy is actually
Jason Connery.
Well, yes, he was in it in series 4. So the lead guy, I don't know why we're talking about this. Anyway, the lead guy was a guy called Michael Praed, but he left after 3 series, I think, and then Jason Connery stepped in as a different Robin. So he was Robin of Sherwood, and I think he came in as he came in as Robin of Loxley, the original guy, and then this guy came in, I think it was something really boring, like Robin of Bedford, or Robin of something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Robin of Bedford, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting off topic, but it's a great
Robin
show.
of Slough.
Yes. Yeah. But yes, Jeremy Bulloch, and he plays a pretty good part in this, actually.
He's quite good, isn't it? Yeah.
He is good because he's got sort of loyalty to the last, even though he gets captured and he's about to get killed a couple of times, and he's there right till the end. In fact, till the very end scene where he says goodbye to the Doctor and Sarah Jane, and then they're off, and he's there till the end. So he has a pretty good part.
Yeah, no, I thought he was good in it. Yeah, it's just like you said, just bugging me all the way through who he was. But no, I don't think there's anyone in this I don't particularly like. I mean, who's the other guy? There is one guy that's a bit wet in it. He's the Edward of Wessex, played Van Rowe. He's a bit wet because he's like, oh, I've lost my castle, but I'm not going to fight about it. I'd rather just, have some mead and contemplate. He's a bit of a wet fish.
Mead.
But then you've got then you've got I want to say Dot Brown. What's her name? June Brown. Dot's the character from EastEnders, isn't it? That she's been playing for like 100 years. Yeah. But she's in it. A young Jude Brown as his wife, playing Lady Eleanor. And I felt we could have seen more of her actually, because June Brown's a great actress, and I'm sure you were the same. I mean, I don't watch EastEnders. I can't stand it, but obviously I know Dot because she's been in it for like forever, isn't she?
Yeah.
Forever. So I kept waiting for Lady Eleanor to sort of light up a fag and just be like, Edward, get off your so-and-so and get the castle back. But yeah, it's good to see her in it. Just think she could have been in it a bit more, I think.
Yeah, she does play a fairly strong character as well, because she's really the one that's kind of driving the whole, what are we going to do situation. Yeah, because like you say, the the Earl, I suppose, of that castle, whatever. Yeah, like you say, he's very much,
I've lost it.
Going to get taken over soon. Might as well just have a bit of food and chill out. And she's like, and then her, and that's the cool thing about Robert Holmes. He doesn't shy away, because back in the day, in the 70s, in the early 70s, it was very much a case of, women make the tea.
Yeah,
and cook the dinner
thing.
So he didn't shy away at all from having these strong female characters, driving the story forward almost. So you had Lady Eleanor, very much like, we're not just going to sit down. Let's do something. And then you got Sarah Jane in the same scene as well. Like, come on, don't just sit there.
Yeah,
let's make a plan. Let's actually do something. So I really enjoyed the characters with old Dot.
Actually. Did you expect her to light up a fag though? I kept waiting for it because she's got this funny sort of
head mark,
head thing on. I just kept waiting for her to get one out. Yeah.
And there's another strongish female character as well, which had me in absolute stitches. It's the cook in Irongron's castle.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about her. Yeah.
So there's a scene where Sarah Jane's undercover and she goes down into work in the kitchens for a bit because she needs to put the little concoction that the doctor's worked up into the food.
That's it,
into the stew. And that's that scene opens. So she's down in the kitchen and what's her name? I think her name might be Meg.
I think it's Meg, isn't it? Yeah.
So for absolutely there's a woman washing up dishes in the sink. And for absolutely no reason whatsoever, she just gives her a backhander on the back of the head. And then
I was like, what's that about?
And she's basically just flexing her authority. She's like, go on, carry on before you even think about slacking off. So this woman gets a shot across the back of the head.
I know. For doing absolutely nothing. That's what it was like back then, you see. No nonsense.
Oh, God.
Like that bit, did you? It's a bit like you with Dalek Tat. Just give it a quick slap.
Oh, I tell you, it's just that I had to rewind that and watch it like 6 times because I was laughing so much I couldn't hear what they were saying in the moments after that. But but she's a fairly strong character as well. Even though her sort of role within the overall thing, she's down in the kitchens. She's still got that feisty, not shy to dish out a few. She doesn't mind dishing out a few slaps and so that's another strong female character. But
I was going to say, considering she's not in it that much, she is quite memorable. You wouldn't mess with her.
You wouldn't, no, not at all. Let's talk a little bit about Lynx then.
Oh yes,
our Sontaran warrior,
Kevin Lindsay.
Yes,
was the actor. Yes, I think he gives a brilliant performance in this. I think he's absolutely brilliant.
Yes, first Sontaran we've seen in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
and he immediately sets the tone for everything that's going to come before, which is quite unusual because even up to this day, Strax in modern Doctor Who still takes on that role in a very similar way. The voice is very similar. The way that he sort of carries himself as a Sontaran, it all sort of, and when we've seen other versions of Sontarans, it doesn't matter if it's classic Who or after, all roads lead back, if you know what I mean, to Kevin Lindsay. So the way that he played it has sort of set the precedence for all the others. And especially when they when they brought back Doctor Who in 2005, the next time we see Sontarans, they could have very easily changed that up a bit, but they didn't. They just kept that, just the way the voice is delivered and
everything about it. I was going to say, I think he really, I like this story anyway, but he really makes this story for me. He's just, whenever he's on screen, it's weird because he gives an almost slightly at times restrained performance. Sometimes he's just sort of standing still, sort of almost arching over Irongron, just menacingly, and I don't know, it just, his whole performance is brilliant. he's a real rounded character. Like you say, it's the first Sontaran we get to see. So we sort of get he's intelligent, but his only goal in life is that he wants to get back to fighting the war with the Routons. That's all he's interested in. So we instantly get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a rounded character, and he's not just an out and out villain. He's actually so much more than that, isn't he? He's quite intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it, and also, I mean, not only is he my favorite Sontaran, but also his mask is the best. I'm talking about like the Sontaran mask, not the helmet he wears, but when he takes off the helmet, that mask is fantastic, and it's never been bettered. I don't even think the new series ones look good, as good. Sorry, they look good, but not as good, because he kind of looks really dirty, and he's got like bits of hair growing out of his ears, and you know what I mean. The detail and stuff on that mask is brilliant, and it's well joined to his face, because we get some good close-ups of it, especially when he's sticking his tongue out and stuff. I just think it looks brilliant, and I think about the Sontaran experiment. It doesn't, the mask they use in that doesn't compare anything to this, does it? It looks really rubbery and feeble and thin, but this looks solid and it's dirty, and you can almost believe that that's his actual potato head. I think it's just brilliant. I mean, Lynx is just by far my favourite Sontaran in the way he looks, the way he acts, the way he is, everything. And he's a big part of why I enjoy this story so much, I think.
Yeah.
But I wonder why couldn't they get the mask as good? Like, it's never been as good as it is in this story.
No. Even when, what story did we review? What Tom Baker story was it? The last Sontaran story that we reviewed?
Sontaran Experiment, is it called, I think? Well, the one where they're on out in location a lot.
That's right, yeah. Whatever one that's called. I think it was the Sontaran Experiment, wasn't it? Yeah. Even that, where they're filmed not too many years apart.
Yeah.
You would have thought that they would have been able to replicate how good this mask looked. But that looked fairly awful in most of the scenes.
Compared to this, I mean, this looks so solid, doesn't it? I just sort of picture the other one just looks like a rubbery mask. When do we see them again? So the two doctors, they're not. No, even in that, they're not. They're okay, aren't they?
They're
but
not
even
great,
in that,
though.
they look great. What other stories do we see the Sontarans in? I mean, obviously in the new series, they look decent because they've got much better prosthetics now. But I still don't think they look as good as this. I mean, that reveal was such a great, I would say, classic cliffhanger. When it's such a great scene, just him turning around and taking off the mask. The only thing I would say is, I don't know if you found this, but I did find him quite hard to understand in the early scenes. So especially in the location shots when he's got the helmet on, he was quite muffled. They seem to sort it out later on in the story, but when he first steps out of his ship and he drops that flag, which is such a great little scene, isn't it? The way that flag just plops open as if he's claimed that bit of land. But yeah, I couldn't hear him for some of the early scenes. It seems like they managed to sort that out later, but it seemed to be hindering him a bit.
I think that might be because they're out on location on those first bits. So when he's it does. I don't sound like this.
Yeah, he does.
Absolutely from behind the helmet. But I think in a bit more of a controlled environment on set. They do mitigate that a little bit, and maybe they mic'd him up a bit closer when he's got the helmet on. But no, I completely agree with you, mate. It's strange how they haven't been able to replicate the quality, because there's, it's not, like you said, it's not brilliant. It's not going to win any awards for makeup, or design or anything, but it does look fairly genuine. It does look, pretty spot on. And then from that point on, I think what's the Invasion of Time?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah,
they don't look very good at all in that.
Gosh, can't really remember, but then, I'm sure they don't. Yeah,
and then the two Doctors again, it looks better, but not as good as this one. So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of performance as well, I thought, Kevin Lindsay's brilliant as a Sontaran, really, really good.
Yeah. What do you feel about the this thing about the Sontarans having this air vent at the back, which is just seems to be such a big weakness to have. I mean, he justifies it by saying because he's always going to be fighting his enemy face to face. So that's very Sontaran. I like that, but I don't know. Do you think it's a bit of a? Because I quite like it myself, but I do also feel it's quite an easy cop out. This vent.
Back of the neck. Well, they've used it as a bit of a get out, haven't they? For
a little bit,
So that's how they've defeated him in, episodes that we've seen since then. So we've had the whole just give them a bonk on the back of the neck and down they go. So it does seem like a bit of an easy exploit, if you like. It seems like a very big weakness.
It does.
So it's probably not ideal. It can provide you with that magical, let's defeat the Centaur, and all of a sudden he's been this huge threat throughout the entire story. And then at the end, we'll just give him a tap on that little air vent and down he goes, save the day.
Yeah.
But so I suppose it's just down to the writing, as long as it's used sensibly. Because it doesn't kill him in this, does it? It just knocks him out.
No, and I must admit, it does work well in this story because obviously he gets an arrow fired in the back of it, and I was like, "Oh, that is pretty cool."
That's awesome. That bit.
But he's in his ship, isn't he? So he still manages to get, press the engine button.
Yeah.
But that is pretty cool when he gets the arrow in the back. So in this story, I think it works really, really well. But yeah, it does kind of leave it a bit open for other things in other stories in terms of a bit of an easy get out, if you like. Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool. It was a great shot. The arrow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's brilliant, that bit. Yeah.
Okay, so we've spoken about most people then and most things. Let's talk about the Doctor himself, Mr. Pertwee.
Yeah, Pertwee.
I thought he was brilliant in this.
He is. He's awesome in it. And I love it when the Doctor's making gadgets, especially the third Doctor. He's always twiddling around with some little
tinkering
piece of mystery. Yeah, tinkering. There's quite a bit of that in this one, especially in the early episode, isn't it? When he's building that funny contraption, and then he's got that torch or whatever it's supposed to be that lights up the hologram of Lynx on the stairs. I mean, that's a great scene. That is. It's so simple and so effective. It's brilliant. But no, I love Pertwee in this. I think he's absolutely on the ball. And as I said, that's why I was thinking back earlier to what he must have been thinking, because we're getting to his last series and things have changed. He's changed, we've got Delgado as, things are changes afoot at this point. Let's put it that way. With in terms of people leaving, and obviously the death of Delgado and Katie leaving and all that sort of stuff. So I'm wondering where he was when he filmed this. But for me, he's bang on the money. I think he's absolutely great performance from him in it. He really rocks that green jacket.
The green velvet.
Come on, who is that? Is a bright green, and he would you call it lime?
I don't know. It is a kind of lime. It is like a lime, because it's not bright green, is it? It's a slightly muted. Yeah, it's a wonderful jacket.
But not many people could make it look that good, mate. He rocks that jacket. He absolutely.
He's the man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's just, I don't know. He's got his own style, and it totally works. The frilly shirt, that green jacket, and I just think he's great in it. Even he gets to do a lot of the hayak. Yeah. There's a couple of that later in the story, doesn't he? Does it a few times. That's it. Yeah, does it a few times. I know he gets replaced by a stuntman in that fight scene I was saying, but to be honest with you, it doesn't really take anything away from him, because I think he had a bad back at this point, didn't he? So that becomes quite common in the Pertwee era, if you like. But but that side, he's totally in there, giving a great performance, bang on the money for me in this. And there's some nice scenes between him and that professor guy, actually, which I've just realised we didn't mention him.
Rubish.
I mean, he's a nice little side character, really, isn't he? He's one of those eccentric little characters that we sometimes get in Doctor Who that I think you can quite warm to. I really like him, actually. What's the actor's name?
Donald Pelmer.
Yeah. So
how do we forget him? He's a great little character.
He is a great little character, yeah. And it's nice scenes between him and the Doctor. I love the fact that he shows so short-sighted that it means he can't get hypnotised. I love it when they come up with simple ideas like that. So it's great the way he saves the Doctor, and he's like sharpening his own little monocle to be able to see around the around the room and stuff. So great little character, and some nice scenes with Pertwee, I thought.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. I can't believe I forgot him, because he's quite an instrumental character in the story as well, because he's the one that continues after the Doctor's left. He continues to dehypnotize the scientist, and then he also takes over and operates the machine to send them forward in time to where they were.
Yeah,
and he's the guy that also is sort of immune to the hypnosis as well, isn't he? Because he's like,
so short-sighted.
Yeah, he's like strong of mind, you see. He's great. He's very funny as well. He plays this very quirky little self-assured, I'm good. So the Doctor's like, we've got to get you out of here. You know, life is in danger. And he's like, I'm all right. Just go and do what you've got to do. And I'm happy here, just pottering around. Yeah, great little character.
I think you've said it before, that when we get, just every now and again, we get these funny little characters like him that are sort of a bit silly, a bit mad or whatever, or a bit quirky. But they're you know, they bring something to the story, because they can be a little bit over the top, but they bring a nice charm to the story, don't they? And he's one of those little characters, I think, which you know, it's just nice.
Yeah, he is very, very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think to the music?
I was going to say I didn't notice that much because it's Dudley Simpson, and I love Dudley's scores. I didn't notice it too much in this story, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because it might just mean it sort of fitted in the background as music should. But it didn't stand out as being good or bad, really. I didn't really notice it.
Yeah, that's what I thought on this one, because Dudley Simpson normally, most of the time, you got some really nice little themes in there, and it can be. Whereas this one, I found it a bit
subdued.
Yeah, a bit forgettable. I don't really remember how any of the music goes after I've watched it. It wasn't too bad.
No, it's a good point, though, because I mean, sometimes the music in the Pertwee era can be quite ear-piercing. It's not normally Dudley Simpson, though. Who's the other guy that, like the Sea Devils music? Do you know what I mean? You can't forget it. Whereas this one, I mean, nothing against Dudley's music, because I love his stuff, but it didn't stand out to me in this as being anything special. But but it kind of worked from what I remember. I just don't remember, like you, I just don't remember anything significant about it. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Scores.
I think it's you to go first, isn't it?
Right.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm going to give this 7.5.
Really? I thought you'd go higher than that. Oh.
What have you given it, a 9?
Well, I've gone for 8.5.
Okay.
But the reason I wanted you to go first is because I was toying with a 9.
Because
I really enjoy it. I think it's a really great little story. But I think, I don't know, it is not one that I'd say is like a must watch. You've got it. It's not an absolute classic. And I can't put my feelings on why, but it is a story that I, could really enjoy and do really enjoy. So for me, it's a classic. I don't know. Maybe it's because it hasn't got that, overarching big villain threat thing going on. But I think it's a little gem, as we said earlier. So I'll go with 8.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.5 is for that very reason, because it's like a gem that's not really mentioned that often. And it's not recommended. If someone said to us, what would you recommend from Pertwee Zero? You probably wouldn't go for this one immediately. So I can't give it higher than that, just because it doesn't feel like it has that classic, not classic as in Classic Who, but it doesn't have that classic, formula that makes it great. But it is a gem, though.
It is, yeah. It's one that I really like. I would put it as one of my favourite little stories. It's strange, isn't it? Because it's not one I watch that often either. But when I do watch it, I really enjoy it. So yeah.
All right, Joe. What did our beautiful listeners think? Over on the Twitter poll, and we asked you guys if it's likey or stinky. 85% of you said likey.
Yeah.
And only 15% said stinky.
Blimey.
Yeah. And then we had some further comments over on Twitter. The Dention said David Dacre is Irongron with a big heart emoji. Silent Nerd C137 said this was my first Pertwee story.
Oh, really?
Great debut for Sarah Jane and the Centaurans. I love it. And what the Centaurans to return for Series 11.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. He gives it 8.5, or they gives it 8.5. Gallifrey's Guard says first classic Who I watched. Didn't like it whatsoever.
Oh
dear.
Very mean.
Gallifrey and Hoovian says, simply brilliant. The best interpretation of the Centaurans. Medieval England looks great, and Pertwee and Sladen are the dream team. 8.9.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Kilroy says, totally agree. The acting of the side characters is terrible, though. But that doesn't affect my enjoyment of the story too much. And that's it for Twitter. And then we had some audio clips in.
Yeah, cool.
So let's kick off with Loopy-Loo.
Greetings, one and all. Believe it or not, I hadn't yet seen when Sarah Jane met the Doctor, so that was nice to see. He was terribly rude suggesting she make coffee. Or was he just testing her mettle? I wasn't quite sure. I love that she won't put up with being patronised, though. Drinking game idea, take a shot every time they say the word insolent. Insolent, Dave! Okay, the best line was after the Doctor goes to find a young girl. The scientist says, young girl? I should have thought he'd be a bit too old for that sort of thing. I thought that was hilarious. Well, I think it was a good story, and it kept my interest. Some of the actors weren't good, but I liked the funny scientist guy who sort of took everything in his stride. Elizabeth Sladen was brilliant in this, and Pertwee was lovely. I would give it a 6 out of 10, probably more if there was more brig in it.
Cheers, Lou.
That is true. There is a lot of that. Insolent.
Yeah, now she mentions it. Yeah, it's a good point.
Let's continue with the audio stuff. This is George Puddy.
Hello, Gary and Adam. So the Time Warrior. So ironic that this story is in season 11, as we did get some quite major news for the upcoming series 11. I love the medieval element to this story. The Centaurans look so good in black and silver, don't they? I love Pertwee's costume in this one. Green jacket with the bow tie. I really do like that. I love Lynx as a character, and he's portrayed brilliantly by Kevin Lindsay. It's Sarah Jane's first story. Now, Sarah Jane is my all-time favourite companion. You just can't beat her, and she's actually pretty good. Liz Sladen gives a pretty good performance in her first story, actually. I love Pertwee in this one. He puts in a really good performance. He's not one of my favourite Doctors, but he slowly creeps up that favourite Doctors list each time I see him more. Of the other classic stories I've watched for the podcast, Horns of Nimon and Terminus, I wouldn't have minded if I just didn't finish it, but with this I just couldn't stop watching. The only negative I can find is sometimes the medieval guys were a bit over the top, but I love this story. 9 out of 10. See you guys next week.
Cheers, George.
Nice one, George.
Make some good points there.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's continue, actually. Before we go on to Facebook, let's do Martin Arnold.
Greetings, Time Warriors. Now, what's better than John Pertwee? John Pertwee and Liz Sladen. What's better than John Pertwee and Liz Sladen? A story written by Robert Holmes. And what's better than John Pertwee, Liz Sladen, a story written by Robert Holmes? The Centaurans. Fantastic. It just gets better and better. This is just classic Who at its absolute best. It's not my favourite episode, but that's just a personal preference thing. But it's so well written and it's so well paced. The dialogue is fun. It's peppy. None of the characters I find to be boring. And I just chuckled at the bit where Sarah interrupts the archer, who then just misfires and just runs off. That always makes me laugh. It looks as if he's been caught doing something he shouldn't. Good times. This is great. I think Lynx is a superb villain. The Centaurans are superb, and if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the guy I can't remember the actor's name, go on to play Steyer in the Centaurans Experiment? Brilliant. And well, he should, because he's absolutely fantastic as Lynx. And Iron Grom's a great foil. They make a sort of great double act where neither trusts the other, and they're both supremely confident in what they do. That's what you want in Who villains. And with John and Liz working together, it seems to be getting on great right from the off. Their relationship and Sarah's introduction doesn't feel at all contrived. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. 9 out of 10. Toodle pip.
9.
Toodle pip, I like that.
Nice one, Martin.
Yeah, cheers, Martin.
Really likes that one. Let's carry on. Sammy Satine from Down Under.
G'day, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Time Warrior, Ruffles and Sarah Jane and the Brigadier, yay! The Sontarans are okay in this. I find their spaceship design interesting. This story is one of the very few Third Doctor stories I have found boring in places. 6 out of 10. See ya!
Oh dear. Boring in places. I got to agree with about the spaceship. I love the space. I love it when they build full-size spaceships in Doctor Who as well.
The giant golf ball.
Yeah, the giant golf ball. It's wicked.
It's awesome.
A bit like in Remembrance, where they build the full-size ship. You know?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Love it when they go to the effort of making it. Yeah, no model shots.
Not only to be seen.
Yeah.
Last audio clip is Lewis Palmer.
Lewis.
Hello to the Big Blue Box podcast. So, the Time Warrior. A really good, if slightly overrated story. Don't get me wrong, it's great to see the first appearance of Sarah Jane and the first appearance of the Sontarans, the latter of which is probably the best the Sontarans ever got in this story. But I do think it does kind of drag in some areas, and although I do enjoy it, it's not one that I often go to when I think, oh, I want to watch a John Pertwee. I usually go to something like Spearhead from Space, or Planet of the Spiders, or, you know, something from season 8 or 9. This isn't one I would go back to. That said, it's a really good historical. Sarah Jane, knowing the legacy that she leaves behind, she's just, judging by this story, she's amazing in it. As I said, the Sontarans are the best they ever got in this, and it's a great story. Just, it's not one I return to often. So I give it 8 out of 10, I think. See you next time, guys.
An 8.
Cheers, Lewis. I do know what he means. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it, but I get what he means. It's, yeah.
Yes.
If you put it next to Spearhead, you'd go for Spearhead. But it's, I hear you, Lewis.
We hear you, mate. Thank you very much. Over on Facebook, Kevin Mullin says a brilliant story that gives us 3 firsts.
4 firsts, but yeah.
Yeah, the first appearance of Sarah Jane in possibly her strongest, most independent story. First Sontaran, and we finally discover the Doctor's home planet.
Yeah.
He says the exterior shots look beautiful and the story zipped along nicely. I'm not a big fan of the Third Doctor, but his final season is great and gets off to an excellent start with the Time Warrior. He gives it 8.5.
Nice one.
Dean Jones says a lot of fun despite this being her first story. Liz Sladen is excellent and has great chemistry with John Pertwee. Lynx is an engaging villain with a great introduction as the Sontarans. A supporting cast do a very solid job, even if it's a little OTT at times. He gives it an 8. Miles Mackenzie, one of Pertwee's best. I feel like it's the right time zone. Everyone's performance was great. The first Sontaran story and a fantastic intro to one of the greatest companions, Sarah Jane. I love Lynx, his costume, and miss those Sontaran designs. Didn't feel the story dragged. Loved every minute, 9.5. Lou Gallagher, first Pertwee story I actually saw as a kid, mainly because I was a massive fan of Sarah Jane. Speaking of which, I feel both her and Pertwee worked well in her first appearance, and like the dynamic of her thinking wrongly of the Doctor. Lynx I always find entertaining to watch, and that reveal when he takes his helmet off still sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
On a side note, is it just me, or does this Sontaran look better than the one in the Sontaran experiment?
No, it's not just you. It does.
Yeah. Jason Thayer says, an excellent introduction to Sarah Jane, one of my favourite companions. It's a shame the Sontarans looked worse and worse until their final appearance. New Who definitely fixed that. He gives it a 10 out of 10.
Wow, 10 out of 10.
Finn Walsh, probably a year since I'd done this, but I'll leave it short and sweet. It's easy to watch story, likeable as well, no real complaints, 7 out of 10. Joseph Howarth says, a great fun watch for me. Sarah Jane's first appearance leaves a great impact and still does to this very day. When I saw her again in this story after seeing her in the episodes she was in for the new series, as well as the Sarah Jane adventures for the first time, I felt like I was seeing an old friend on screen.
Yeah.
Can't get my words out. Irongron is gloriously hammy and chewing the scenery and reminds me of Alan Rickman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves as the Sheriff of Nottingham. That's a good point, actually.
That is actually, yeah.
There is some likeness there.
Definitely.
He says, I knew this was going to happen, but I'm just waiting for him to say Loxley. I'm going to cut your heart out with spoon. Yeah. It goes on to say, I love the scenes with Rubish because they were hilarious and he was very absent-minded. Tons of action and great scenes, as well as notable appearance from Jeremy Bulloch. Goes on to give it an 8 out of 10. And lastly, Stan Gallagher says, great story, love Lynx or Toadface. When I go to Warwick Castle, I always think of this episode.
Nice.
So that's all the official stuff. Did you have anything on the Geeks Handbag?
Yeah, I just had a couple. By the way, where is it? I must go. I would love to go to the castle. It's not Warwick, is it? I can't remember where it's filmed. Have a look while I find the geek stuff. So Ethan Duckworth says probably the best Sontaran story next to the Sontaran Experiment. Mark Daniel Mooney simply says prime Pertwee, which it is. Patrick Sherwood says, I really love the Time Warrior. I think it's one of the best classic Doctor Who stories. I really enjoy it. I think it's entire story would be a 10 out of 10, he says, for him, so he really likes it. Charlie Turner says, this is my favourite Sontaran story to date. One thing he regrets, though, is that never used to like this one when he first watched it, but it's grown on him, and he gives it a 10 out of 10. Blimey. Nice. And one last one that I had sent to me on Twitter via a private message from Elliot Beasley, who says, The Time Warrior is a great introduction to a fan favourite companion, Sarah Jane Smith, as well as the iconic Sontarans. It's also the first feature one of my favourite opening title sequences, and Gallifrey, yes, exactly, is named as the Doctor's home planet for the first time too. Still remember the Coming Soon trailer on the DVD release, how excited I was, and it did not disappoint. The story is the best pseudo-historical, and it serves as an exciting season opener with medieval warriors and contemporary scientists. He says it's a definite 9 out of 10. Cheers, Elliot.
9, another one.
Another 9, yes.
Well received, this one, for the most part.
Yeah, I'm glad, actually, yeah, because it's a good one, I think.
Yeah. Location was Peckforton Castle in Cheshire.
Cheshire, is it? Yes. Right. Okay.
And interestingly enough, they used the same castle for both castles in the story.
Oh, right. What, filmed from different views or something?
So they just slightly different rooms and different views in the same castle for the Wessex Castle and Iron Grond's Castle, yes.
Yeah. I'll have to try and get down there one day.
There you go. With your camera, do the old location shot.
Yeah, reenact a bit of in the courtyard. In the courtyard there.
Yeah, going. Yeah. It's a fully working grade 1 listed place. So you can probably wander down into the kitchen, dish the chef a backhander in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And if you want, you can throw in a
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, guys, for sending in all your thoughts and reviews for The Time Warrior. I think overall, very well received. It's a hidden, I wouldn't say hidden, but it's a nice gem in Pertwee's era. Yeah. So if you've watched the main ones that every Doctor has, I think every Doctor in Classic Who has got sort of at least 3 or 4
must
watches. It probably doesn't rank up there with those. So if you've watched those must watches in Pertwee's era and you're thinking, well, I wonder what else is floating around the Pertwee area, then check that one.
Yeah.
Because that will, you won't go wrong with that one.
No.
Next week and all of November, we've got something cool for our reviews. Haven't we, old chap?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this, actually, yes.
Yeah, so what we normally do, as you guys know, if new listeners are not aware, when we come to do our reviews, unless there's new Doctor Who on the TV, what we normally do is we alternate each week. So we do a classic Who, and then the week after we do a modern Doctor Who, classic, modern, in that pattern. But there are a few reviews that have been done in the past, namely ones that I did by myself when I started the podcast way back in 2014. And a lot of times when Adam and I are talking, not even if we're recording, just catching up and talking about certain episodes, we always say, it'd be great to revisit that, or for you and I to view it and review it together and stuff like that. So, and also our opinions have changed. As anybody that's listened to this show for longer than a year will know that when I first started watching McCoy, for example, I just couldn't get into it, and I put it off, and then I tried again, and I didn't get into him. I couldn't really get into him, and then all of a sudden something clicked and I just continued watching, and now he's one of my favourite Doctors. And so our opinions have changed, over time as well. So for November, we're going to kick off the Revisits month.
Yeah.
And these are all classic Who, and they are episodes that you and I have obviously watched a lot individually. However, we just want to view them again, revisit together and so on. So what are we going to do to kick off Revisits month next week?
So this has been a long time coming, actually. So we will be re-reviewing Remembrance of the Daleks next week. The classic McCoy one. Now, this has been a long time coming. I think Gary's wanted to revisit this for quite some time, ever since we first reviewed it. So, I'm very much looking forward to that, to see how opinions have changed since we originally reviewed it back whenever that was. And then obviously I won't tell you what we're going to do for the next few weeks, but there'll be stories that perhaps Gary reviewed on his own at the time. And this time we'll be reviewing them together to see if our opinions are the same, or if Gary's opinions are the same. Maybe they've changed on those ones too. So it's going to be an interesting month, actually, going back and re-evaluating these stories, if you like.
Yeah.
But Remembrance of the Daleks next week. Bit of McCoy,
yes. And then for the rest of November, there won't be any modern Doctor Who. It will just be the 4 classics that we want to revisit. So we're going to kick off Remembrance. Get your DVDs out for that. Get it watched, because we'll be asking, as usual, for your reviews and thoughts. I think we're going to do that, mate, for 162.
Okay.
Thank you for sticking with us and listening to episode 162. It's been a great crack talking through the Time Warrior. Some great scenes. And like we said, if you haven't watched this one, if it's one that potentially you've thought about watching, haven't really reached for it, or you've watched all the must-haves from the Pertwee era and you want to explore a bit deeper, then definitely go and check out the Time Warrior. So what was it? A 8.5 from you, I think.
Yeah.
And a 7.5 from me. Next week, Remembrance of the Daleks, Unlimited Rice Pudding. It's going to be... I can't wait to re-review that one with you, mate. That's going to be...
I know you've been wanting to do it for ages, haven't you?
It's going to be awesome. So I can't wait to get stuck into that. It's going to be so cool. So, look out for the Facebook and Twitter posts for that. So we can be asking for your reviews and thoughts. And we'll read them all out, or play them out, whatever, next week. Until then, head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all the previous shows on there, plus you can link off to all of the social stuff, such as Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and give us a like and a follow and all that jazz. Because we do chat on there in between episodes. Also, check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Yeah, go and have a look at that.
Just do a search on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, all the usual stuff, but mainly YouTube. All of his videos are over there.
Wonderful videos.
A huge plethora of geek videos for your viewing pleasure.
Yes.
In the middle of nowhere, it seems.
Yeah.
So go and check out Adam's stuff. Give him a like, a subscribe, and all that stuff. Be much appreciated. And lastly, if you listen to our show on iTunes, if you could spare a minute to give us a review and a rating, that would be awesome, because that really helps us loads. And the reviews we have got have been very, very lovely. So those of you that have reviewed, thank you so much. Very kind words. So, until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember... Hello.